Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and today we are discussing a science fiction drama stroke horror movie directed by Danny Boyle, um, starring Cillian Murphy and Chris Evans, to name but two. The sun in the distant future is dying, so Earth sends out a spaceship with a huge bomb to reignite the sun. We are talking the film Sunshine. Not many people know about this movie. It wasn't really a commercial success, but it's sort of gained a sort of a cult following these days. So there's only a few of us here today, so we're going to start with opening thoughts on the movie Sunshine. We'll go to Tim first. What do you think to Sunshine?
Well, like you said, it's not one I'd not heard of it before. So I watched it and I thought it was a bit bog standard sci-fi, to be honest. I was a bit surprised because I like Danny Boyle's films, the ones I've seen. Shallow Grave was always a favorite back in the day, and obviously Trainspotting. And I really enjoyed that reboot of, or that 25 years later sequel to Train T2. Call it, a couple of years ago. I thought that was excellent, but it was just kind of bog standard sci-fi. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't very good. It was just kind of by the numbers for me. But I guess it was an enjoyable way to pass a couple of hours, but it didn't really stand out.
Thanks, Tim. Over to Susan.
All right. Well, to begin with, it's got Breakfast in Pluto, Cillian, and that was just too cool for words. I mean, that guy has got the coolest eyes on the earth, and yeah, I really like the all the extravehicular activities. EVAs in real life or in movies are the shit. They are like the best thing ever. Literally, happy Susie is happy because this movie was there were so many EVAs. It was awesome. And that's what I really enjoy because, I mean, once you're out past the wall, the hull of a spaceship, a spacecraft of any kind, even heading for the sun, you're in space, vacuum, minus 273, like they said. And they were accurate. They were accurate about the temperature, even around the sun in space is still negative 273 Celsius, 0 Kelvin. Fun, good stuff. And it stars Chris Evans too. Okay, let me go into him. First of all, his uncle, I think it is, Mike Capuano, used to be our representative here in Boston before we selected Ayanna Pressley to replace her. And anyway, he's a great Bostonian guy. He was just in this funny commercial about it. This was at his heyday. I mean, he was just coming up. He started acting around 2000, in the very late 90s, early 2000s, and then this one is 2007, and he'd gone like this, and his trajectory was straight up at this point. I mean, he went from playing the Fantastic Four guy to to this, and then eventually into Captain America. I'm switching cameras. I'm out of focus again. And I'm sitting still. It makes me really grumpy when that does that. Anyway, so I was like, yeah, I just want you guys to see all my beauty, but I guess it's just really hard with a camera that goes out of focus. Maybe I'm supposed to be in soft focus, but this movie was incredibly hard focus. I mean, there was it was intense. Like the whole jeopardy of that one guy who was marooned on that other spaceship, who they go and try and get, and he jumps ship, and he comes into the the other payload, oh my gosh, that was so random and so fun. And he looked just, scarred and gross. And there was tons of body horror. But like the next movie that we're reviewing has got a ton more body horror than this one. So anyway, this is just amazing stuff. And I personally really enjoyed it. I love Danny Boyle. I love his movies. I love that he works with Robert Carlyle a lot. So anyway, let's just yeah, let's just say that this was a fantastic movie in my humble opinion. And throw it back to Lee.
Thank you. Right. You see, I agree with both of you on this. As I said in the introduction, it's a science fiction drama stroke horror because, in my humble opinion, is this movie can't make up its mind what it is. It's science fiction drama, and then when it gets to Icarus I, because they're in Icarus II, once they get to Icarus I, it sort of turns into a horror slasher movie. I mean, no bad thing, because I love horror movies, but I wish these sort of movies would make their mind up fairly early on in the movie what they're going to be. I mean, as you said, the slasher, the captain from the other vessel, brilliantly played by Mark Strong, who is a brilliant English actor. You could hardly recognise him, really, because one of my other complaints about this movie, I know it's called Sunshine and they're right near the sun and the heat and all like that. Was there any need for all the screen flare all the time, the vibrating picture all the time? Because it did take it away from me, because you were trying to see what was happening. But the cast are brilliant, an ensemble cast. As far as, if I remember rightly, Danny Boyle got them to all live together before started to record this, film this movie, so they could get sort of to know each other in a family feel. So they were living together for, I don't know, maybe a month before the movie. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant to look at. The spaceship, the sun, and all, the solar flares, the solar sails, shall I say, and all like that. Brilliant, but it's just a difficult one. It just doesn't. Well, so as I say, I wish it'd make up its mind what type of movie it is.
Unfocused.
Yeah, that's it. Like some of the screen shots, it was so unfocused, but you get the feeling it's influenced by 2001 and Alien. With the computer and there's a gang of guys in a spaceship on the unknown. But yeah, it's an enjoyable. What was it? An hour and a half to 2 hours long. It didn't drag. It didn't drag. The story, it just went through there. But I don't know. I'm like that with this one. So, any things you liked or didn't, favorite things or things you hated? Let's go back to Susan and then back to Tim.
All right. Things I liked the EVAs. Like I was saying, I love extravehicular activity, and when they're fixing the hydraulics on the big reflector dish, the big seriously round shield that was blocking the sun from their spaceship going forward, that was interesting and cool. And like there was the fact that every time the sun would pass over, you got close enough to the sun, and without that dish, anything that got caught in the sun's direct energy would catch fire and burn. And that was an intriguing thing. Also, the other thing that was intriguing was that the whole premise that you could, through a fission event, turn the sun back on, which is a fusion generator. So, that kind of science was it's fiction, but that was kind of the thing that was interesting. It was a big premise thing. Anyway, the other thing that was in answer to what Lee had said in his opening remarks, I think that the reason that there was so much of this and so much of like the lens flares, because he was trying to get to the idea that time and space were warped in the presence of so much energy coming from the sun. That it's more than just a gravity well, it is an actual like time and space event. And so that's why there were things that were like out of sync and two of one and not one of another, and like the dialogue wasn't a straight line. Sometimes there'd be stuff that looked like it could have been parallel to like two realities going on. And I mean, like in that I think that camera work was trying to bring that to your mind. Tough though. I mean, it's really tough because that has never been I've never heard that. I've heard that talked about in terms of black holes, but never in terms of just our sun. Uh, but I mean, like those interesting things are what I was geeking out about this movie was, and there was a lot to seriously geek out about, and Michelle Yeoh was amazing in this. Absolutely tender towards plants and fierce and delightful to watch as well. Um, I, the cast was great. The cast was really, really an astounding ensemble cast. Really cool. And yeah, so yeah, what moments there were. The suicide moment was incredibly like heart-wrenching, and because like you really actually felt for the guy because he was so committed to the mission. He wanted, I mean, he was just chiding himself so hard, and then wow. So that moment was really, really heart-wrenching. And of course the captain the captain of Icarus I jumping ship and going to Icarus II and being so, only naked and only like scars. That was crazy. Anyway, that's all of my favorite moments and all of the crazy bits. And over to you, Lee, again.
Like Susan, we'll hop over to Tim.
Well, I would say, Lee, that you actually put your finger on what I didn't quite get was that you're right. It is an unfocused script. It does kind of. It starts out as one thing, then it becomes something else, and by the end, you're having a chase film with a monster, and it's just kind of unfocused. I think that's why I think it's just a bit by the numbers. It's not really an outstanding film. Like I said, it's not bad for an hour and a half of entertainment, but I mean, it's got some astounding visual effects.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just a bit meh. I would say that probably the best scene, or one of the more interesting scenes, was the one where they have to jump from the one ship to the other, and what a challenge that is for them because they just got one suit.
Yeah.
So the other guys have to wrap themselves up. Kind of reminded me of Apollo 13. They have to run around the ship trying to build a device to keep themselves from running out of air. So they're pretty much left to their own devices, and I think only one of them survives. Well, other than the guy in the suit, the other guy ends up floating away and freezing to death. But yeah, I mean, it had some astounding set pieces, I would say, but overall, it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm surprised. It's an odd choice for Boyle, I think. This kind of film. It's a departure for him.
It is, yeah. you wouldn't expect him to make a movie like this, because usually Danny Boyle is sort of down to earth, drug fueled sort of movie. But I mean, he took the chance on this one, as I say. But as Tim said, the word is unfocused, as was the lens most of the time near the end of the movie. And spoilers, this is a movie where nobody survives. everybody goes. Even the big Hollywood stars of
Sorry, Lee, that is really not a spoiler because you're heading right for the sun.
yes, but it wasn't a suicide mission. They were going to come back, but
I didn't understand that. I thought it was a suicide mission.
They were going to drop the bomb into the sun and get away.
Yeah, because they're monitoring the situation, and they realize that if they don't sacrifice one or two of them at one point, they're not gonna have enough of the others to survive. That's a hard decision to make. So.
Yeah, I did like, as I said, the visual effects are astounding. As I say, with where they're on the solar sail thing, shield, and as the sun's coming across it, it's just brilliantly done. And as Tim said, the jumping from ship to ship with the 3 astronauts and only one with the suit, that's really, 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 really done good. But apart from that, the music's fat as well. I think Danny Boyle used Underworld. The group who did the Trainspotting song. Well, one of the songs for the Trainspotting, but I'm positive Underworld was on there. But
yeah.
So, anybody anything else to say about this before we move on?
The sweet relationship between Cillian's character and hang on a second. Let me get that. Let me get back to where I was. I just got sidetracked. Robert and Cassie.
Yeah.
They were I played by Rose Byrne. I mean, another super powerhouse actress. I mean, amazing. That was so sweet. I mean, like that relationship was like, he kept saying, like, we're in this together, and like, tied, and he looked at her with such tenderness, and then and I mean that was a really
Again, that's one of the unfocused things about, because all of a sudden in the last 30 minutes she disappears completely. I don't even know what happened to that girl, and then it's like that whole subplot got dropped, didn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, the ending is a bit strange. I mean, for the captain played by Mark Strong, he'd been on that ship 7 years. I mean, they didn't really explain why Icarus I failed the mission. To be honest, they just found it. They just came across Icarus I's SOS signal. Didn't really say why it failed the mission, and also the way, I know, 7 years alone could send him completely insane. But I just couldn't understand why he kept going about God and heaven, and it was I just couldn't get it. You know what I mean? It was just a mission to save the sun. It was no.
Maybe they're trying to do like a Heart of Darkness kind of thing, where they find the guy and he's like that now,
Or maybe the sun was driving people crazy. Maybe being that close to the sun would drive you crazy. Like that was my thought, because like every time that guy would the other guy would sit in the observation deck. Yeah, the one who ended up wearing the steampunk goggles. Yeah, or welding goggles. Yeah, so he would You
I
know,
mean,
people.
I could understand. I could understand 7 years alone circling the sun could send you insane, but I don't know. I just couldn't grasp what his intention was by the end of the movie. I don't know. He wanted to die. He wanted to meet God, or what? I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, unfocused is the word of this cast.
Okay.
Anything else? Would anybody like to add before we go to final say and score? Okay. Right then, final say and score. We'll go Tim.
It's definitely worth a watch. It's not the best, nor not the worst movie I've ever seen. So I will give it a 7.5.
That's a good score. Good score. Susan.
For the EVAs alone, I'll give it an 8. No, I'll give it an 8.5. But I was going to go higher, but it is, you know, having discussed it, we're a bit unfocused, just like my camera was.
And me, I'm going to go 7.5 as well. Brilliantly shot for the visuals. The acting, cannot fault the acting. It was just the story was a bit jarring and unfocused for me. So yeah, that's my score there. But please, you guys out there, give it a watch. You've got to watch the movie or one of these movies once in your life, and there's one of them to watch there. So, Susan, Tim, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this little cast today. You guys out there, if you liked what you saw, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. If you like to get involved, leave us a message, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. So we're on Twitter or on Facebook, YouTube, and talking to YouTube. If you subscribe to the channel, please get that bell notification up there, and every time we put a video up, you'll get the ding notification. So until next time,
By the
keep
way,
smiling.
yeah, don't stare right at the sun.
No, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, it'll drive you
unless you have a
crazy.
good.
It will drive you crazy.
Anyway, yeah, well, yes, as well, and the sun has got his hat on. Hip hip hooray! So goodbye for now. Keep smiling.